Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and this is the LockerGnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short, your daily dose of geek news, product views, and answers that you can use. Like an answer to the question, why is Chris blowing into his mug? Because I'm waiting for my tea to cool down before I start sipping it. It's a nice, I've been told it's called Genmai Cha. It's also been heard in my ear as Genmai Cha. It's a green tea. It's got popcorn, sencha leaf, and rice, and all sorts of good stuff. I think that's it. Those three ingredients. Maybe more. But it's my favorite green tea. It's really my favorite tea. And this is a mug that I just received. I washed it before putting the tea inside. The mug, for those wondering, is actually a quote from a troll. Someone on Google Plus who hates people like me decided to write, well, I'm not going to say the first word, but you can imagine it's electrical taped out. F you, you are the worst piece of consumerist, consumptionist, pretentious, hollow, unproductive, capitalist parasite on the internet. And now his quote is on the mug that I made and then purchased and then allowed other people to purchase it as well. So if you want the FU mug, the link will be in this video's description. I think I oversteeped it before putting it into the container. Thank you to the 853 patrons. These people are awesome. Really, we gained, let's see here, almost overnight, about 10 patrons, give or take, because some patrons leave, other people join. I've been trying to figure out a way to give bonuses to the patrons if we know you're around for, a period of months. We're trying to figure out if Patreon can help us, the website we use for patrons right now, if they can help us measure if you've been around for several months so we can send you something like a mug. But I don't know if we can do that right now. So either way, I'm very happy the patrons are supporting our endeavors, including something that you caught in this YouTube channel yesterday, most likely, beyond the WWDC live stream, beyond my thoughts on iOS 8, after not having tried it, of course, and I made that disclaimer in the video, but we tried a new video idea for a series that's still in flux, something called OMG, though we don't really know what OMG was short for at the time. We're trying. We're gonna see if it works. And not everybody was happy with what we did, with who we did it with, how it was done, etc. But we're taking some of that constructive feedback and we're gonna try to make adjustments throughout the week. My idea, as I've said before, the more patrons that are able to come aboard, the more they're able to pledge, the faster I'm going to be able to grow my team, grow my abilities to execute on ideas, and engage you to help people even if you're not a patron. So today's OMG video, I've got the link in the video description for yesterday's if you want to watch it. Today's is going to be about Google, the OMG video. Tomorrow's will be kind of a reimagining of what OMG could be as a weekly series. So take a look, give your feedback. You just got to know we're trying. You got to know, when I say expand my team, I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm being absolutely serious. I am hell-bent on doing things better than I'm doing them now, and am doing it thanks in large part to the 853 patrons. The credits, as I will roll through later in this broadcast, haven't been updated for this month because your patronage may not have cleared. I want to make sure everybody at this level is good to go before I update the names on the list. But either way, This is very happy news. I'm glad to be introducing two new show ideas to you this week, OMG, and this Friday, TGIF, which the patrons have already seen. Tips, guidance, information, and facts. It's a good one. I'm excited. I just like doing new things. Sometimes it just re-energizes the blood, or maybe that's just the tea talking. I don't know. So other bits of news apart from the mug, a U.S. ambassador, if I can say her name, Suzi LeVine, an ambassador, that came out kind of weird, was sworn in on a Kindle yesterday. This news came upon my radar in the middle of WWDC, and I'm like, dude, that's awesome. She was sworn in on a Kindle. Now, I don't know if that was the first time a U.S. ambassador or any U.S. Or any world citizen was ever sworn into office on a Kindle, but that was cool. I'm like, whoa, dude, that's cred. Like, oh yeah, you're an official, but were you sworn in on a Kindle? For real. Couldn't believe it when I read that news. I had to do a double take, and then of course more outlets reported it today. But the reason why, digging deeper, Ms. Levine or Levine, and I'm sorry, I can only read, so I have to guess on how names are pronounced. She doesn't do a "Hello world, I'm Suzi LeVine" or Levine, so I don't know. She did it for a few reasons. One, and I think probably the most relevant to our community, is that she believes in technology, and she believes in using technology and demonstrating technology as a useful tool. And, it's the symbolism, that you put your hand on the Constitution, at least here in the United States, and you say an oath, and you repeat I would say vows, but that's not exactly it. I think it's an oath, not vows. I don't know if she's marrying the Constitution. Though, if this country keeps going the direction... No, I'm kidding. So, okay, now I've just upset half the people. I'm so independent, it's not even funny. This has nothing to do with politics. She loves technology so much. That's what she believes in. This is her constituency. She was sworn in on a Kindle. To me, that was almost bigger news than anything Apple had to announce yesterday. It's pretty big news. The FCC over the weekend said that they may be considering a stricter definition of broadband in the Netflix age. So what they're saying is DSL isn't broadband. So basically everything that everybody else knew, they're basically coming forward and saying, yeah. I would expect that we'd hear of a minimum of 25 megabits per second. I think that's fair. I think that's fine, or at least fine enough. Hey, don't get me wrong. I think it should be gigabit for everybody. Hell, screw gigabit. I think we should go terabit. Petabit. Petabit for everybody. Have you ever pet a bit? They're kind of spiky sometimes. Yeah, it's bits. Yes. No. Yes. No. Yes, 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 yes. No. For those of you not aware, this video is being live streamed onto the internet, so I'm not editing. I'd be surprised if half of you guys even caught that bit reference in what I was... So, 4 megabits per second may no longer be considered broadband. Ouch! To all those DSL providers, but I hate to say I told you so. No, I don't. Told you so. It's not broadband. Hell, even the broadband that most people can get today isn't considered broadband in respect to the rest of the world. I mean, at least, okay, speaking from experience, if an ISP comes to me and says, we want to give you as much as we can fit down the pipe, I'm like, yeah, bring it on. That's what I want. Feed me, Seymour. Feed me! Feed me, Seymour! Feed me! And again, with the obscure references, Chris goes along. Interesting update to Apple's developer guidelines for app approval. Now, and this is just an update that came out yesterday, and you may have been aware of this bit of news, but I thought it was interesting, even though I'm not someone who's really caught up in the world of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Approved virtual currencies are now possible in the iOS App Store, or in the App Store with Apple. So this isn't an exact, coming out and saying, yes, you can use Bitcoin in your apps and we'll take them. That's not what I believe Apple was saying, but the door is open for approved virtual currencies in the iOS App Store. I think that's fantastic. So, for example, I don't have Bitcoin. I understand it enough, and I understand virtual currencies, but it's not yet easy. I mean, I get it, but it's like, okay, I understand. I don't have any, huge machines where I'm mining coin. There's some value to it. I just haven't quite figured out how to make all the connections for it, and it's been explained to me a billion different times. But I think this is extremely valuable. I think it's potentially forward-thinking for Apple to come out and at least say they approve virtual currencies, or will approve virtual currencies if, and I do believe this is a clarification, or like putting a finer point on it. They're talking specifically about governmental, I guess, supporting of these virtual currencies. So if they don't have a sign-off from the government, they're not going to let it come through the App Store. So they gotta, Apple's gotta, they've gotta comply with the law. The last thing they want to do is become persona non grata. But I think it's something that's interesting, certainly interesting to watch, and opens the door for something other than a US dollar or whatever currency your country happens to be trading in. Even though I think most of the people in our community are US based, seconded only by the UK, I think is bigger than Canada in terms of our reach. Australia, New Zealand, other European countries, and then it kind of goes down from there. So anyway, I thought that was, if you want to read it, I've got the link to the first tweet I saw about it, as well as the link for the new developer guidelines on Apple's website. Spoiler alert. I need to have graph. There have been several photos leaked from episode 7. Not to mention, well, not leaked was the announcement of 2 new female actresses. One had played in 12 Years a Slave. The other plays in Game of Thrones. So they will be actors or actresses with familiar faces. As to the roles they're playing, we don't know yet. Either way, that should allay some of the fears that Star Wars Episode 7 is nothing but guys. It seems to be a pretty well-balanced cast as far as my eye can see. But even if it wasn't, I'm more interested in Star Wars for the story, not necessarily for who they choose to fill these roles inside of casting. So as a fan, I just want to see a good story. I want to see good characters. I want to see great special effects. I want to love what I see. As someone who understands the value of diversity and engagement, I think it's potentially very forward thinking. But I wouldn't want those casting choices to be predicated on the idea that they were going for diversity first, story second. But I'd say that with anything. I'm like, if you're talented, man, I communicate with people all the time. I have no problem with who you are. On the internet, it was an old cartoon or an old comic. On the internet, no one knows you're a dog. If you leave a great comment, I'm like, wow, dude, you're awesome. I don't care what your username is. I don't care if you're male, female, black, white, purple. Okay, purple's a little bit of an exaggeration. I don't mean to go that extreme. I don't care your race, creed, color, religion, smartphone platform choice. If you're supportive, or you're engaging, or you've added to the discourse, then I respect you and I value you as someone who's talented, or someone who has an opinion that is absolutely worth talking about or talking around or sharing. So I respect people for who they are, not what they are. Always have, always will. It's never going to change. I know some people, have kind of gone the other direction with it, but it's just that's how I feel. I think we're a human race. Period. End of story. I mean, but I'm saying that, right? And some people, I don't want to go too deeply into this, but I think this is a subject that impacts all of us. I don't know what opportunities I had that other people had different opportunities. I can tell you this: I wasn't born someone who had my family didn't have a lot of money. I was born in the Midwest. I had certain circumstances that I had to deal with. Was it a perfect scenario? No. Was it the worst? No. Was it the best? No. It was in the middle. So I don't know. I can't compare my life to anybody else's because this is what I had, right? This is where it sat. So I just wanted to let you know that I don't care if you're 12 years old, 22 years old, 72 years old. If you conduct yourself and not demand respect, but you put respect out there, I will respect you in return. That's how you get respect. You don't demand it. You just you exude these qualities that cause people to respect you. So I got off on that tangent because that is actually something that Google kind of got called out for the other day. I guess I don't have the exact stat, but there seems to be a high level of male or white males at Google. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. I don't know if that was forced. I don't know if it was just so happened to be that way. If those are the best people for the job, I don't know. I don't work at Google. But anyway, I think it's a big topic. I think it's a fascinating topic for me. Especially when it comes to the internet. I honestly, sometimes I forget that online, I communicate with people all the time, and sometimes I forget that we're not possibly in the same country. Sometimes I forget that we're not in the same age range. Sometimes I forget that because I want to put ideas out there and thoughts out there and have fun, share information, carve out a career. And, where we cross over, I think that's great. But, I tend not to throw up these artificial hurdles. You're a human being. And I'm going to if you treat me like a human being, that is not, tearing me down just to make yourself feel better, we'll get along swimmingly. Let me go ahead and turn my screen back on and go down here. And, okay, good. Making sure we're playing. You want your website in there? Great. By the way, I added a ton of new patron bonuses to the website, the patron website, chrispirillo.com will redirect you. You can now see, I've got like basically a TLDR rundown. Oops, sorry, Anthrit, thank you. Mitchell Wilson too, thank you. Jordan Gam, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I didn't mean to pop that up over people's names there because they deserve credit. Either way, all the patrons, you get to look at the news stories before I do a live broadcast. So you can see what I want to talk about for that day. You can get the headlines, the links, the everything that I have that I talk about. That's a new bonus. And I want to do something where, and I had this, and we shuffled some stuff around. I may have a rig of the day, or like a setup of the day, or your office or your room of the day. So if you're a patron, and I got to figure out where to put these things and how to organize and facilitate. So I haven't quite figured out those details yet. But the idea is that patrons will, one patron a day, I'll talk about and show people your rig or your setup or whatever it happens to be. I gotta trip my way through it. I'm just trying to add more value to the people who've added value to trying to help build what it is that we're trying to build here. So now you'd be able to submit your setup pick, if you will, your geeky bragging rights, and get a highlight in a TLDR if you're a patron. Then later this week, I talked about TGIF. We've got scripts written. One I've already recorded, 2 I haven't yet, but we've written scripts for videos that we want to record. You can take a look at those scripts as a patron, if only to provide feedback or just to know what we're recording, how we wrote it before it actually gets produced. So you get behind the scenes access, tons of bonus access, and then plus you're helping something happen on an ongoing basis. I mean, honestly, I just keep giving more and more and more. I mean, I give a lot, but I give, bonuses, these values, extra values to the people who say, hey, Chris, you're worth more than a mug a month. Although I do want to sell mugs. Don't laugh. Mugs are probably some of the more socially or most popular social things that we share on a daily basis. Forget Star Wars, forget Lego, forget Microsoft, Apple, Google. Mugs. This is the thing that tends to get shared on my Facebook and the Twitters a lot, frequently. So, next, this also happened to hit my radar yesterday. Myspace is shaming people into rejoining Myspace. So, get this. They're trying to lure you back by showing you embarrassing photos that you had posted to your old Myspace profile. It's kind of funny. I don't know if it's going to work. I've got a MySpace account, but I don't really do a lot of music sharing, and that's something that may be valuable for you. But either way, if MySpace sends you an email and it's a trip down memory lane, there you go. They're trying to shame you into joining in. I'm not exactly sure that's the best way they want to go. It's funny. It's an attention getter, Come on, admit it. We all had a MySpace profile. All of us. Unless you weren't born. And yes, there are people in our community who were not born when MySpace was around. This is kind of neat. Twitter, and this is something they've been rolling out continuously. They've now got it so that there's a new font on Twitter.com. Not really a huge deal. It's a web font. Kind of neat. I like it. I don't mind it at all. But they now also have, in the web browser, web notifications. So you know how you're on Facebook.com in the web browser, and you get a little toast pop-up that says, hey, so-and-so just liked, hey, so-and-so just shared. You can click it and take action. Same thing now exists in Twitter, although instead of on the left side, it's currently on the right side. You can take action on it immediately. Love it. But you have to go into your settings. I got the link for the web settings for the notifications. You have to tweak it. Because Twitter throttles. So, they will only show you the notifications that they think are valuable. But in doing that, you may never see the reply that I give you. Or I might never see a reply or a tweet or a favorite that you do for something that I do. Granted, I use TweetDeck. I don't use the Twitter web page. But TweetDeck kind of gives me the notifications in a column format rather than the web format, but it's something you absolutely want to tweak. I tweaked it. I just turned everything on. I want to see every notification that comes in. So you've got to do the same thing, just FYI. If you like Pixar, the company or entity that brings you all sorts of wonderful animations, I'm not going to say that their software is going to turn you into a 3D animator, but they are giving away a version of their software for free for non-commercial use, RenderMan. If you want RenderMan for free, it is available. Big deal if you're into 3D stuff or you want to get into 3D stuff, you couldn't afford the $500, you can now get it for free. Kind of neat. I enjoy 3D animations. I don't think I'd ever make it as a 3D animator. It's not the type of creativity that I tend to engage in, but certainly it's still something of value. The next bit on my list is it finally here? No, that's not it. I was updating my apps because there's a new Instagram app available, and I've been waiting for it to come down the pike. I don't have it yet, but it is available as an update for Android and iOS today, version 6.0, which is going to sound crazy if you watch this video a year from now. Instagram is getting adjustable filters and 9 new effects. 9 new effects. You know, just in case, you know, you thought you didn't have enough options with the filters. Some people get stymied. Like, there's so many options on Instagram. They're like, which filter do I? And I admit it. I'll go through and like, which is the best one that I think is going to work for me, you know, like what so like the mug that I took a picture of here earlier today, you know, I thought I found, oh, hang on, sorry, that is so incredibly bright, did not mean to make you squint, and that is so incredibly not bright. Oh, the fun of doing live video. Okay, that's just right, that's about as bright as I can get it. You know, it took me maybe a minute to get the shot, the setup, and everything, and it took me about 2 hours to find the right filter for Instagram. That's Instagram. So now they're making it more complex. Potentially. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to use it, so I don't know if it's better, if it's worse, but it is coming down the pike, and we're going to have to deal with it. Back to Microsoft. OneDrive. And by the way, OneDrive is it is a very valuable ecosystem, or I guess part of the ecosystem for Microsoft, but also beyond. OneDrive is getting new photo views on Xbox One, and at some point in the future, you will not need an Xbox Live Gold subscription to be able to use OneDrive. To me, that's probably how it should have been all along. High-resolution photo uploads on Windows Phone and printing at Walgreens. So for me, the fascination would probably be printing at Walgreens. That's actually kind of nice. I like that feature. Will I use OneDrive? I have a OneDrive account. Am I going to use it? I don't know. I guess I could. It doesn't bother me, but I use Google for a lot of documents, and I guess I could probably also use it for backup. I use Copy, I use Dropbox, and at some point in the future, I'll use iCloud Drive. And in terms of, you know, cost, I think, well, and it's been measured out, I think they're actually saying now that the new iCloud Drive will be very cost competitive against Google Drive, insanely cost competitive against Dropbox. Copy is, for the most part, free. I love Copy's model. Copy I've been using to pass projects back and forth between John and myself. And although I use Dropbox for quick transfers, Dropbox it's ubiquitous, and a lot of people know Dropbox. They don't necessarily know Copy. But there's just a lot of options out there, and I would not be the person to ever slag one of them over the other. Although I will say this, I've yet to spend money on Dropbox. I know some people do, but I think it's just a matter of time before they have to change their pricing model, potentially. You know, some people love Box.net. I mean, I want to say dime a dozen. I would want to go with the bigger vendors, personally, because I know they're likely to be around for the long haul, not based on any amount of funding other than funding from themselves. So, you know, I don't know. I think a lot of people out there might use OneDrive. Certainly, I like the competition. Love that, even if I'm not using the features directly. Although some people, I got to address this too, and I made this Facebook status update. You know, some people seem to be upset that iOS is getting features that were available on Windows Phone or Android previously. It doesn't bother me. And it wouldn't bother me if Android borrowed or copied at that point from iOS in terms of feature set. Or Windows Phone. Because ultimately, you see a good feature, like, oh, wow, that's great. That's fantastic. Why would I sit here, honestly, why would I, hang on, guys. Why would I sit here in good conscience and say, wow, that feature on the Windows Phone is awesome. I absolutely do not want it on my iOS device, and no way in hell do I want it on my Android phone device thing here, my Nexus 5. It kicked me out of Instagram. I was going to show Instagram on here, but it kicked me out, and I don't have the credentials here. Although I use 1Password for synchronizing passwords across platforms. So why would I sit here and say, dude, that's an awesome feature on iOS, but I hope to God it never comes to Android? Why would I say that? I wouldn't, because it's stupid. And the only people who say that to me it's a jingoistic, protective, very immature kind of response, you know? I don't know. I think it's okay to say, well, Android had it first. Okay, well, who says first? Kids on YouTube say first. What's the value? It's not just the feature sometimes, it's the implementation. And the more I have used a nice, convenient feature on one platform, I wish it existed on the other. There are so many things on Android that I wish existed on iOS. So many things, including app management, but not like you think. App management in the sense that I can be in a web browser, press a button, it's automatically downloaded to any Android device that I have connected to my account. I love that. One thing that I wish Android had that iOS has is better device management. Right now, I cannot remove any Android device connected to my account. Can't do it. Cannot be removed. I can ignore it from a list, but it's always tracked in my account. I have no opportunity to remove it. I'm like, really? Okay. So there are a lot of features on all these various platforms that I wish were on all the platforms. Honestly, I don't know. To me, a feature is not a competitive advantage. Replying to a notification in line, there's a value to doing that in line, right? They just take something and make it better on their platform. The one thing that I tell you I wish more companies would copy Apple with, you are hearing me say this, and you've heard me say this for years. What have I been screaming? Not just the feature, the implementation, ecosystem, cohesive user experiences. One thing, if there was just one thing that device manufacturers and tech companies and all these entities that are trying to create experiences for us, if there's one thing I wish they would copy, not just ease of use. That's great if it happens. Trust me, you're never going to hear me argue otherwise. One thing. Continuity. To me, that's absolutely the killer feature that announced yesterday, and a couple people picked up on this. But I think that's the killer feature. Forget everything else they added to it. Bonuses. The killer feature for Apple now, iOS and OS X, the entire Apple ecosystem, is continuity. No one can touch it. Now, there are some people out there who say, well, I use Chrome OS in my Android phone. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I've not really found a good web-based or browser-based video editor. So that's out as an option for me. Just is. And it would be there in the sense that if all you needed was Chrome OS, web browser, and anything that could be accessible by way of a web browser, and I'd say most people would be fine with just Android and a Chromebook, so Chrome OS, or within the Google ecosystem. If their needs are not that deep, it could work. So, for example, my wife Diana, baby, I think she's down. Are you in the other room? I didn't want to talk about you if you were standing right there. She's got a MacBook and she's got a Chromebook. Well, we have a Chromebook, and she uses the Chromebook way more than she uses the MacBook. But she uses an iOS device. She uses her iPad. She uses her phone. It's convenient. It's accessible. Well, now Apple's got family sharing or family. Is that it? Family sharing, where you can share apps and documents and videos and everything in Apple's ecosystem between each other easily. Just creates for a seamless experience within Apple. Google kind of has that, but not quite there. And then even if it solved the hardware and software and service things that would make it rival Apple in terms of the comprehensive experience, a desktop operating system, which Chrome OS, you could argue is. I don't want to battle on semantics, but Apple has stores. Apple has a better customer service policy on an ongoing basis compared to Google. Apple is a consumer-based products company, for the most part. Google's not. So, Google's not in the game of selling hardware. Google's not even in the game of selling operating systems. Google's not in the game of any of that. They're search. I mean, they've got values on top of search, but the reason why they were allowed, why they were able to create the Android experience the way they did, later to reel it in, was because they were making money on search. It's where the money was at. And that may change at some point in the future. Who knows? So, just saying, it's very difficult for me to compare, apples to oranges. But I wish that there were more companies like Apple that had those types of experiences. I don't think anybody would argue. I think the closest company to that right now, neck and neck with Microsoft and Google. Neck and neck. Mind you, yesterday I was accessing my email inbox on an Exchange server, Microsoft, using Google Chrome, Google, on OS X, Apple. So it's not like I don't want anybody to win, because you're never going to win in a race that never ends. But all this, flapping about, well, they're copying. Yeah, I wish they'd do more of it. You know how I stand on software patents. I think they're a waste of time and a waste of money, and just let the better implementation win in the marketplace. That's how I feel, especially about software. You know how I feel about open source. I think it's a great idea, but there's also a value to proprietary software as well. Open doesn't always win. Always. I think it's got a chance to win in the long run, but we're not there yet. So if Android or Google were to come out and create something, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, that's very obviously, oh, this was iOS and now Android has it, or, well, this was Windows and Android has it, or, well, that was Android and now Windows Phone has it. Who wins? Who wins? You! Because you get more choice. It's easier then for you to switch from one platform to the next. This is why I've been screaming as much as I can that, I do my best to remain as platform neutral, not just because, I think it's a great idea, but because I want that flexibility, but I'm still going to choose the best series of experiences that I can find for me. All my documents, Google Drive, just about every one of them. Can't stand, any other type of, web-based collaboration system. Google just works. So I use it for that, but I use another company for this, and I use another company for this, because with the web, this lingua franca of communications, I win. Consumers win. So the next time, you see someone say, well, Apple copied this, or Google copied this, just say, okay, and who wins? Who loses? Who wins? Who wins? And ask that. That's the question to ask. Who wins? Users. Nothing else matters as far as a user experience is concerned. And again, let me go ahead and this huge bold underscore. It's not the features, it's the implementation. You know what should have Google scared? The fact that Apple, now granted, they don't have a massive portion of the overall online accessing experience, although on mobile they're kicking ass and taking names. Apple is replacing Google as a default search. I mean, it's been in Siri, which I'm not a fan of Siri at all. It's always disappointed me at every turn. But the default Spotlight search on OS X doesn't have a huge footprint in the marketplace. Is Bing. Windows has a huge footprint in the marketplace. Bing. People will still want to get to Google, but Google is increasingly getting kind of nudged out of the edges because, it's playing its own game. And that's fine. Like I said, competition's healthy. So Google is probably not going to be around, at least directly or surfaced by a lot of the efforts that Apple's going to make for one reason or another. But ultimately, like I said, users win. Competition, that's healthy. I went on a little long today. Sorry about that. Actually, I'm not, if you appreciated it. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for remembering to like, share, comment, subscribe, watch more of our videos, becoming a patron. And after this video, I'm going to be doing my thoughts on OS X Yosemite, a dedicated video. I do 5 videos, 5 separate videos apart from TLDR at least every week, where I answer questions. 4 of those Q&A videos are just for patrons. One of those is public. The one I did public was yesterday, my iOS 8 thoughts. Today's OS X Yosemite thoughts dedicated video is going to be for patrons, so you'll be able to watch that if you're a patron. There's only so much I can do, and I put a lot of stuff out there that is great for connecting with people and sharing ideas. But as I explained on Facebook the other day, which I'm sure no one read, even if you could read it, because I wrote a very long piece, well thought out. Ad revenues are. I love sponsorships, but they don't always come in, and I don't have a sponsor manager. Patrons are really the ad revenue in this channel. I'll be transparent about it. I don't know if that's going to happen tomorrow after I process things. I will show you the numbers in terms of the value that I've been doing for you. The numbers don't add up in terms of how you would want to experience the things that I've done. So expect more transparency from me as much as I can possibly give. I'm going to go ahead and round down. Thank you. Round down. Round out. I'm going to round out this video by suggesting I'm going to leave you to your own devices, whether you're using Windows Mobile, Android, or iOS. We'll see you later.